All right, welcome back. So, in the episode 3 here, we're going to get a prospector and go mining. So, 73,000. We'll run it for a day. And I'm not going to do a whole day worth of recording right now, but I will show you what you can do, what you can make. I was actually thinking about getting some armor, but I don't think they have. I was looking for the arrow, but they don't have it. So, let's see what else they got. Yeah, I don't want to spend that much. And the Mac Flex is already pretty much equivalent to what I got. All right. Well, we can do that later, I guess. All right. Let's go get our prospector and go do some mining. We'll, for today's episode, we're going to be working from Crew L1 and selling. That is probably the best place for prospector mining, especially with a rental, because you cannot make any changes to the rental prospector. You are pretty much stuck with the gear that it comes with. So the Arbor mining head, no modules, and the components that come with it. So you're stuck with the same quantum drive it gives you and all that. But we can make that work. The only thing it means is you'll have to break smaller rocks. Typically, depending on the makeup, you can crack probably up to about 8K. And that's why we're going to Selling, because they have a significant dispersal of smaller rocks that you can crack. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to maximize here and spend as little as possible while we're doing it. We are not going to be refining today because we're looking to maximize the amount of money we're making in the shortest amount of time possible. And in order to refine it, you're going to have to wait for it. It takes roughly, with a default prospector, you're looking at about 24 to 36 hours to refine a load. So what we're going to do today, and some people will probably be screaming about this, but we're going to just sell ore. In the beginning, I honestly believe that's the best way to go, just because you want to make as much money as you can as fast as you can. And there's no reason you can't make 100 plus an hour with a rented prospector by selling the ore. And you don't have to wait for it. So if you refine it, like I said, you're looking at least a day, day and a half before you can sell it. And then you have to rent a ship if you don't already have one that can carry it, because you can't deliver a partial load from the refinery to your cutter. So you're going to have a ship that will hold at least 30, probably 30, 32 SCU of cargo. And that puts you up in the range of like $100 something ship. So if you started out with just a cutter, we're going to sell ore. And that's the assumption we're going to go on here, that you're just starting out. You don't want to spend any more money than you have to. Well, you learn whether you really like the game. And then realistically, you can buy almost all the ships in the game itself. So you don't have to pledge them if you don't want to. You could literally start this game with a cutter and work your way up. All right. So flight ready is up above here. There's engines. There's flight ready. I would just hit U normally, but I want you guys to know where they're at. So, all right. So we're going to be dropping into the planet once we leave here. Just let my shields come up a little bit, just in case somebody's outside. Realistically, I should be able to jump out of here before anybody can get me, but you never know. That is the downside to going to a moon to mine, is the fact that theoretically people can find you especially in a rented Prospector, because as you can see the numbers up there above the energy, it's got a cross section of about 15K, which means they can see you out to 15K, and the energy signature is like 35, 45, 50, something like that, so 48 or something. Um, and they can actually see you that far away. So, but it's still the best place to mine. And if you're not carrying a lot of gear on you, even if you get killed, then you can just start up again. At least until Death of a Spaceman comes in. So what we're going to do is run this for about an hour from the time we got in the Prospector and see how many trips we can make in an hour and whether we can make back the 70 that we used to buy it to rent the Prospector. I already know you can do this. Don't do that. I'm actually trying to change some settings here, but it's not letting me do it in Quantum. Definitely don't get up and move around in a Prospector and Quantum if you can help it. I got lucky there. I didn't end up plastered to the windshield. Alright. Let's go up here to selling. And we'll jump in here. I usually like to jump to the moon and then jump to an OM and drop down. And I try to drop down in the daylight just so that way it's easier to see things. Usually try to go for one of the side OMs, like 2, 3, 4, 5. You see here I'm kind of in the dark, so we're going to try and go. That should put us in the daylight. Alright, there we go. So now we're going to line up on selling, the word there, and then we're going to try to go someplace where there's not any outpost. The outpost on this side will show in yellow, like the little triangle, so you want to try to avoid that. Go over here to this one and go to this menu here, go all the way down to the bottom and hit extended info. This will actually show you your altitude when you get closer on the right of the center of the screen. Right now where it shows the speed on the left of the quantum markers, quantum signature or display there, on the right hand side it'll show you altitude. Because we don't want to get too close before we drop out of nav mode. Otherwise we're likely to go splat. So we'll get all the way up to speed here, which would be about 984 or something like that. And then we'll go into coupled mode or decoupled mode. You just hit C. Alt C will set your cruise till you get up to speed. And then hit C for coupled. And that'll take you out of coupled mode. And then basically your ship just goes that way. This is a good way of saving gas getting down to the planet. Eventually you can actually learn how to do vectored landings and all kinds of stuff. But we'll start with this. I usually like to come in here, go down to an angle, and kind of aim a little above and away from everything so that there's nothing there. I think I'm a little too close to that one place, so we're going to go over to the side here. We're going to stay in MAV mode, typically until you see the altimeter show up. However, if you're concerned about it, just go ahead and take yourself out of it. You'll just have to apply a little farther. That's all. It'll just take a little more time. I've actually done this quite a bit, so I'm not too worried about it. And with the introduction of nav modes and SCM and the landing gear, you can actually stop yourself pretty quick. So then you need to get down to probably about 3K above the ground before you can start pinging really. And again, we're going to use, I believe it's tab. I actually have mine set up on a trigger or on a button. So, but what you're looking for is ping in the settings. So if you can't find it, if it's not tab, then open up your key bindings and look for ping under the scanner entry. All right, so here we've got an outcropping of rocks already. So we're going to go ahead and head over and see what these are. Like I said, the key here with the rented Prospector is as many trips in an hour as you can and just sell off the ore. If you refine it, you get about twice as much. However, you're also going to pay somewhere between about 5 and 10 grand per load to refine it. And you're going to have to wait 24 to 36 hours. So when you're starting out like this to build up your bank, just sell the ore. Especially if you don't have a transport or a cargo ship. That'll do at least 30 something SCU. All right, so there we've got our markers. You notice we're in SCM mode. I prefer to operate in SCM mode when I'm mining. That way I don't overshoot stuff. I seem to be having an issue with my... Oh, there we go. We're okay now. All right, let's see what we got here. We've got a little over 3,000 mass. There we go. We get Terranite. That's money. That's what they call a tier 1 ore. You'll have Terranite, Bexylite, and gold are tier 1, with Quantanium being the highest you can get. Quantanium sells for about 20 to 25 grand in SCU. The Terranite, Bexylite, and gold sell for between 6 and 8, depending on where you sell it. So those are what you're looking for, but you can actually pick up like Agricium, Laranite, Borace, are all tier 2 ores. And then, of course, your base materials, aluminum, iron, corundum. Those are your tier 3 ores. We're not really interested in them right now. Now, once base building and crafting comes in, we'll probably want to collect those as well. All right, so line up, get within optimal range, hit the trigger or the mouse button. M is what you'll need to use to get into mining mode. Right mouse button will switch between fracture and extraction. We're actually, obviously, we want to break the rock, so we need to be in fracture. I believe it's shift in the mouse wheel to control your mining laser power. You can check that in your key bindings as well. We want to charge it up until we get in the green, and then we want to back off until it stays stable in there without jumping around. That's one of the nice things about the Arbor, is it actually improves your instability and makes it a little more steady. But you give up the power for that. All right, then we'll go ahead and see what we got here. Like I said, since we're just going to sell ore, we're not too concerned with it. The whole point is to get in and get out. Obviously, if you spend less time down here, there's less chance for pirates to find you too. So I would start with the chunks that have the most of the tier 1 ores, and then move on to tier 2. So in this case, I found 100% and another 100%. So I'm definitely grabbing those. And then we'll move on from there. And when you're breaking the rock initially, it'll actually tell you how many SCUs the actual rock is altogether with all the materials. So you can actually gauge how many rocks you're going to need to break for that. In this particular case, I'm going to actually dealing with an issue where it looks like my laser isn't, or my cargo isn't actually registering. I'm sure it's just a glitch and it's probably still there. But there it is. So don't freak out if that happens. Just kind of keep an eye on it. All right, let's see what else we got. So we've got some Agricium over here. That's a tier 2 ore. Since we've already got some Terranite, we'll go ahead and grab this. Normally I try to stick with tier 1 ores, but when you're dealing with the laser in this and the rented prospector, you can't be quite as picky. Otherwise you'll be out here forever. Because the next outcropping of rock you check may not even have one you can crack. So with the rented prospector, you take what you get, and that's the whole point of the quantity over quality. You basically make as many trips as you can, as fast as you can to make the money. Obviously, Agricium has a smaller charge window, which is a green area on the line there. So you got to be more careful. If you get into the red, you have a chance of blowing the rock up, which can actually cause damage to your ship or even destroy it, depending on how bad it is. So if you do end up getting up in the red, just back the laser all the way down until it's out of the red, until the red is gone. And then basically just be general with the power when your charge window is that small. If you come across Quantanium, it's just as bad. So keep that in mind. However, you make a lot more money off of it. That's kind of like the holy grail of prospector mining, finding an actual Quantanium rock you can break. They do not have specific Quantanium rocks. We have just our normal rocks and tier 1 materials, and you might just get lucky and find one that has Quantanium in it too. All right, then we'll go ahead and pick up what we can until we're full. You can't change the bags out in the rented prospector, so you're limited to that 32 SCU. Once you buy your own, you can upgrade and put 48 SCU on there, which is for the 12 SCU bags from the Argo, from the mole. I've already got videos covering that if that's something you're interested in at some point. Pretty sure I have a couple of them actually. And as 4.0 comes out, I'll make another one, especially if anything changes. Again, we pretty much want to limit ourselves to tier 1 and tier 2. If there's not much in there for tier 1 or tier 2, then don't bother picking it up. Usually I'd say anything over about 20%, you should be fine. Alright, so we'll go back over here and see what we got. See if I left anything we can take with us. That's aluminum. That is, got some hephistonite. And we've got less than 0.6. So we're just going to go ahead and go back. Again, in the interest of time and as many trips as we can make. Alright, so go ahead and set your jump to go back to crew L1. Obviously you have to be in nav mode to jump. Go ahead and set the route. And then line it up, wait for it to charge. Once it's calibrated, you can actually just press the mouse button if you don't have it changed. left mouse button, and that'll take you into quantum. All right, and I'm not cutting anything out of this too much, just so you can see what the like full hour or so. I think it actually runs to about an hour and 10 minutes. But you figure that counts renting the Prospector and everything, all the stuff I did previous. And you figure jumping from Crew 01 to selling and back, you're looking at probably about 100 credits worth of fuel and quantanium and hydrogen fuel. So as long as you don't suffer any damage, that's pretty much negligible. At least until 4.0 comes out, and then I think the fuel prices are going to go up. All right, so same deal as we've been talking about. When you're flying into the station, just go ahead and leave it in nav mode till you get to about somewhere between 5 and 10K out. Try to aim for a place between the supports on the station. That way you don't accidentally run into it. And then once you get close enough, you'll jump into SEM, and that'll slow you down. And then you'll want to take cruise off if you've got it on, so that you can actually slow down enough to land. Again, when you're trying to get these done, you want to actually do everything you can to speed it up. So go ahead and set that landing request in the key bindings to like F3 or whatever key you want to use. So that way you can just hit it when you get close. Again, landing gear down. Try to center it on the pad. That way you can repair and refuel. Since I'm planning on going back out, I'll go ahead and refuel and repair now. Alright. And you can look behind you and make sure the doors are closing. That means it registered that you landed. Alright, so refuel. Don't have to do any repairs because we didn't trash anything. Once it's going, you can go ahead and get up and head to the refinery. So we'll go ahead and exit the ship. Just hit F. That'll just automatically take you out down the ladder. You can hold F and just tell it to open the ladder if you don't want to do it this way. Then you can just run out and fall to the ground. I'm planning on going right back out, so I'm not going to store it. So we're going to go sell and then come back and make another run. When I first started playing, this is pretty much, I started with an Avenger Titan, I believe, because they didn't have the cutter back then. And this is pretty much what I did to make enough money to buy my first Prospector, because the Vulture wasn't in the game yet. And you can by far make more money mining than just about anything else right now. Well, besides salvage. Back then, if you wanted to make a lot of money, mining was it. Unless you wanted to do ship-to-ship combat. And even that takes time. So. And you have to have the right ship and the skills, and it takes a lot of practice to do those higher up bounties. So, but I mean, that's your thing, by all means, go for it. This new player guide is going to be geared more towards the industrial side. So, I mean, there's things you can pick up from this that'll help still, especially if you don't have a fighter to start out. And nothing else you can make enough to go buy one. Alright, so when you go in the door up here, on the left is the ore sales, on the right, or straight ahead, is the actual refining terminals. We're going to go ahead and sell. It's only a little under 20 grand, but we didn't have a lot of Terranite on that one. So we'll try to watch that later, and we'll go ahead and keep track of this. So just for argument's sake, if you were to go in here and hit begin, you could actually pick a ship over here and you could actually do your work order up, and theoretically you would make about twice as much refining it. However, you'd have to pay to do that. So we're just going to sell. All right. So there you go. And now we're up to 122. So I was at 170 something, and we went down to about 100 grand. Now we're back up to 122. 122. Just double checking the cost here. So yeah, it is 73. And as you look right there, you can actually rent these things for more than 1 day. So if you know you're going to have a whole week into mine, you can actually rent it for 3 days. And they even have where you can rent it up to a month. But that's pretty expensive. So at some point, maybe I'll cover rock mining. But unless you have a ship to transport it, that's kind of a moot point. So you're looking at about 2,600 to rent the rock, but you're probably going to be looking at another 25 grand or so just to rent something to transport it in. So again, we're trying to maximize what we can make. Now the rock can do gems, but that's a different type of mining. So, and I find ship mining is much easier. So now we'll go back up to the hangar and we'll get ready to head out again. So like I said, we're trying to keep our runs about 15, 20 minutes. So that way we can get at least 3 of them an hour. Like I said, I wasn't able to play all the time when I first started, and I was still able to manage buying a Prospector within about 2 weeks of when I started renting the Prospector. And it was running about 2.1 million then. Theoretically, with a Prospector, you should be able to make about 100 to 150 an hour in a rented Prospector. Also, keep an eye on your liquids and food. I use the Cruise brand of drinks because that actually refuels both food and water, your hydration. So that way you don't have to carry multiple things. And they've got this nifty little glitch right now where if you stack the empties, at least 2, then they automatically fill when you grab them. I'm sure they'll nix that at some point, but they haven't yet, so. I'll check back this weekend in Pyro and 4.0, and I'll see if they have it set up where you can rent Vultures yet. And then I'll update one of the descriptions. If that's actually I'll update episode 2 description if it does. But you can definitely rent the Prospector. Alright, same thing as usual. Wait for the doors to open. You can actually leave your landing gear down or put it up when you're taking off, doesn't matter. I usually go out of crew 1 and go down below, and then I set my jump. Just because sometimes it'll actually put you on the backside of the station compared to where selling is. Alright, there we go. And just a note, when you are jumping to the moons around this planet, you do have to jump to the planet first. Yep, looks like we're going to have to move a little bit. If you see it red like that, just move so you can actually see it. Alright, get ready to go for round 2. Like I said, I figure it'll take about an hour to do 3 runs. and then we can look at what we made. I did bring a saber with me in case we run into a rock that we can use it on. But I also have a short and some other videos that involve using the gadgets. At some point throughout this Prospector runs, not necessarily this episode, but at some point I'll actually work with that too. But to start out with, it's probably better you get used to just doing rocks you can do without it, because it cost about 13 grand for the saber. And again, we're trying to keep the cost down. They are reusable, the gadgets are. However, there is always the possibility that they'll get damaged, in which case you just lost the 13 grand you paid for the saber. So we're trying to do this, other than renting the Prospector, we're trying to do it as cheaply as possible while still making money. There'll be time for refining materials and so forth like that after you've actually bought a Prospector. Because then if you do have to rent a cargo ship, you're only renting the one ship, not two. And honestly, I would probably start out making money, and I would probably buy a Vulture first, because the Vulture only runs 1.7. There is no refining fees or anything like that. So literally, you can go out, salvage, bring it back, sell it, you get paid immediately. And hour for hour, you're going to make more off the Vulture as far as getting paid right away. You can probably make as much or more. You can probably make as much in the Prospector, but you have to refine it first, and you have to get lucky and find some good rocks. Eventually, you get to a point where you'll have places you'd like to go, and you'll be able to make real good money. Again, we're going to drop in the same way. Line up where you want it, away from any outposts or settlements, and then go to max speed nav mode, and then decouple by hitting C. And again, we're going to ride it down until we get to about probably 10K. And then we'll throw it into SEM, and that should slow us down enough that we don't have to worry about it. This would not be the time to get up and walk away from your computer to go to the bathroom or get a drink. Because if you do, chances are you will face plant the ship into the ground. Sorry about the noise, but the kid is home, so 15-year-olds are not quiet. I'm pretty sure when he was born, he came with a herd of elephants. All right, there we go. Under 10, pop it into SEM. It is B, if you haven't changed the key, to switch between SEM and nav. Not sure if I mentioned that before, but just in case. Again, that's one of the things I've changed. Quantum jump has always been B, like hold B. And to turn it on and off, it's always been to hit it once, quick. So I have actually changed the SCM to my joystick and set quantum to hold B. All right, looks like we got another rock here. Let's see what we got. Again, we're in SEM, so we shouldn't have to worry about overshooting it. Once you get closer, obviously, if you're in cruise, you want to take cruise off. right, and keep pinging so that way it stays up. And once you get under about 3, then when you ping it, it should actually show you the rocks, like how many there are and so forth. Typically what you're looking for is groups of rocks where there's at least 3 or 4, hopefully more. Because if you get that many rocks, then there's going to be some that you can break with the Rhino Prospector. And apparently I'm having trouble with my cruise and coupling, so I'm trying to fix it because it won't zero out my... Alright, there we go. Now it's fixed. If you run into that problem, just throw it back in coupled, hit Alt-C to turn it off, see if that fixes it. If it doesn't, then hit C to decouple and hit Alt-C again. If you fiddle around with it enough, it'll fix it. Seems to be just a glitch. I'm not sure if anybody else is having it besides me, because I haven't asked, but it's fixable. Alright, so we got another Terranite rock. That's going to be too big for this Prospector. You got a little gold rock. And that's going to be too big. Alright, so we'll go ahead and go over here and grab this Terranite. Well, wait a minute. Is this gold? Can I pick it up? Yes. If it's already outlined in purple, then that means you don't have to break it. You can just pick it up. That's basically a freebie. You just roll up to it, extract it. Now, obviously, you're pretty much stuck with whatever it is altogether because you have to pick up the whole rock. But it works. And, I mean, I've got, what, 3 SCU out of that? Even at the lower price, I'm looking at probably 3.5 to 4,000 at SCU to the ore sales. So that's already 10, 12 grand. All right, we're going to go ahead and break this. So go ahead and start out at 0, work your way up. I actually know how this is going to go for the most part, so I'll go ahead and max it out. If you do actually start climbing and it doesn't move, then just keep going until it starts moving. At this rate, about 5, 6K, it should be able to crack with the arbor without any trouble. Once you get up to about 7 or 8, then you're going to run into more problems. In which case, that's where like the saber would come in. Or it just take longer to break. Once you get over 8K, you're probably not going to crack it with an arbor. Unfortunately, that's the downside. Alright. So we've still got about, what? We got about 6 or so SCU. So we've still got about 26 SCU available. So, again, expediency, we're going to go ahead and grab as much from this group that we broke here. We're going to start with the biggest deposits we can find of Terranite, work our way down. Doesn't look like I'm going to get lucky and hit any hundreds this time. See, on this run, when we're already doing better, we're already up to like 4 SCU of Terranite. We're not even done. So this should be a pretty good run. That's a pretty good size rock. So even at 30-something% Terranite, it's going to give us a good bit. All right, we're almost full here. There we go. We're full. Time to go sell. So go ahead and hit M to put your mining laser away. Jump into nav mode. And take off. Alright, so we're going to head straight up. You got to break the 4K barrier before you can quantum. So we'll go ahead and set it to take off and hit cruise. And then we'll go ahead and map our jump. By the time we get back into it, we should be close. Alright, there we go. Now we'll go ahead and jump back. And you can pretty much do this at any of the planets that have moons, and Lagrange points where the mining stations are, the refineries are. I just prefer selling because you get a lot more prospector size rocks, but you could do it at ArcCorp using Arc L1, and you could fly back and forth to Lyria or Walla. Microtech, you can actually fly out to Mike L1's station or two, and then you can actually go to, I forget what the moon's names are right now. I'm drawing a blank. But there's three of them there too. I think it's like Euterpe. And there's a couple other ones. Um, Again, same plan here. Line it up. Aim for a place in between the struts or whatever. Go ahead and go full speed until you get close to the station, and then jump into SEM. Sorry about that. It's that time of the year for sinuses to drain. Ooh, and a little sneezing. All right, same as usual. Pull in here. Make sure you put your landing gear down. Land in the center of the pad. Go ahead and refuel and repair if you're going to take off again after you sell. It's a rental, so if I'm done for the night, I don't bother refueling or repairing, just in case I don't get back to it before it expires. Because I can always refuel and repair when I bring it back out. But when I know I'm going to be going back and forth, I go ahead and do it. And again, like I said, looking at 100 credits or less for each refill, depending on how much you have to run around on the moon. All right. Same deal as before. Exit the ship. Let's go back to the refinery. And this is going to be pretty much rinse and repeat. And then at the end, we'll do a final tally to see what we made, to include like what's left after paying back, paying ourselves back for the rental. Hope he puts his helmet back on before he goes out in space. General rule of thumb is before you leave your hangar with your ship, make sure your helmet's on. And don't take it off again until you get back, unless you have to be in your ship and get a drink. We pretty much all walked out into space with a helmet before, not thinking about it. It's not fun. It kind of sucks. Especially if you've got a nice load of ore on there that you want to go refine. All right, whoops. Hit the button. We're not going to do that right now. Habit. I'm so used to refining ore that I forget that I'm selling it. All right, as you can see, this trip's a little better, about double. Because we had more gold and we had more Terranite. So we'll go ahead and sell this. Go ahead and update my sheet here so we can get a final tally at the end of the hour. I figure so far we're sitting right around 60 grand. So this next run should put us over what we paid for the rental. And we should have a little bit of profit. All right, so now we'll basically do the same thing. We'll go back to the hangar, get the ship, and do it again. I know this part's kind of tedious, and I would rather cut it out for you, but some people like to see the whole process for the whole hour. That way they can gauge what they can do. So we'll go ahead and leave it all in here. Nope, we're not going to the clinic. We didn't break anything. All right. Back to the hangar. Although I guess technically I could have cut the elevator out. It's just a fine piece of mining machinery there. With this stainless steel look that's dulled from being out in space. All right. Call to leave the hangar. And then we'll do this again. This should be the third run, should be the hour. And that'll give us a good idea of what we can do. Again, we're going to drop down below the station. Then we'll set up our jump. Should be the final run of the video for tonight. All right. And it looks like we're behind the station there. So we'll move over a little bit. Good to go. All right. Again, you have to jump to the planet first, and then you can jump to the moon. Honestly, it just seems like, yep, apparently we're going to go to OM this time first. Apparently, Selin went back behind Crusader. Apparently, it went way behind it. We have to hit two OMs first. Fortunately, they don't take very long. All right, there we go. Back to Selin. Again, we're going to line up. We'll get up to speed. Then we'll go decoupled. It's really important that you do coupled mode when you're on the moon. That actually helps you from sinking down to the ground while crashing to the ground. It actually keeps you up in the air. So once you get down on the moon, you want to make sure you turn coupled back on. Otherwise, you have to constantly be flying to stay up. And theoretically, you could jump to an outpost or mining station, whatever the case may be, mining outpost. The problem with that is if you do that, you run the risk of pirates have a habit of hanging around those places looking for miners or other players. Could be somebody there hitting people hitting cargo at that outpost. Could be they're waiting for miners to drop down. And this is why you go out in the middle of nowhere, basically. You want to try to make sure you're at least 40 or 50K from any outpost or facility. It's all about get down there, get your ore, and get out before anybody finds you. And this will become more important as time goes on when they start increasing the number of people that are on a server. It's not horrible right now because there's only about 100 people max on a server. But I know in Pyro and 4.0, they're planning on putting probably at least a couple hundred on a server, and then you're going to have more people around. So, and I'd love to think that all the pirates are going to be in Pyro, but realistically, they're not because they're still going to be looking for people. And unfortunately, we do have griefers, like any game does. So, and they definitely will not be in Pyro. They'll be where everybody else is. So if you're going to be mining in Stanton, that's where they're going to be. Unfortunately, it's just a sad truth of any online game. Sometimes people want to ruin it for others. All right, should be getting close here. There we go. Down under 10. Go to SCM. Go ahead and keep going down towards the planet. And then we'll level out and start pinging. All right, looks like we got one here already, so we'll go look at this. Looks like this is going to be a single rock, so we'll see what it is. If it's just a single rock and it's not very good, we'll probably go look at something else. I like to make sure I go to outcroppings that have multiple rocks. That way I usually have choices. Whereas if you have one rock, this one actually looks like it's going to be pretty decent sized. So we may not be able to break it anyway. Yeah, that's like 40 something thousand. We're not breaking that. That's a mole rock. And that is something you can do as well to make money. If you don't have anything but a cutter and you don't want to rent a prospector, or you don't have the money for one yet, you don't want to do the cargo hauling missions, just advertise that you're looking to mine a mole turret or a reclaimer. And sometimes people will actually take on people to help them and give them a cut. I know I've introduced quite a few people to mining that way before. All right, let's see what we got here. So that one's a possibility, but it's barrel. I'm not too worried about it. Borace, that can work. And more barrel. Gold, too big. And more barrel. All right, so let's go ahead and let's see. Well, we can try that, I guess. Maybe. Theoretically, we should be able to break it. Again, make sure you get inside that optimal zone on that dial on the upper left part of the main display there. Your HUD. And you can actually control the power somewhat by getting closer. All right, well, guess that's not going to work. Let's go find another rock. Yeah, we'll go after this borace. Borace is probably, for mass, borace is a good second tier. It's the best second tier because if you can crack it, usually borace will actually break better than any other ore, meaning that you'll have higher percentages of borace in the actual chunks, leaving the crappy stuff in other chunks. So we'll go ahead and take this one. And it breaks pretty easy. I mean, this is only like a 5K rock or so, but or is it? Let me see. Yeah, looks like it's about 3K. So we should be able to break it without too much trouble. All right. And then, like I said, it gets a good break. So there's already a 75% chunk. There's another one. That's high. That one's actually like 90 something. So it's not uncommon to get 90% plus fragments for borace. And I've also regularly seen even some 100%ers drop more from borace than anything else. So if you're on a rented prospector, a borace is a good way to go. And it fills up your hold pretty quick. So gold typically is the densest of the tier ones. And so it actually takes a lot of gold and it doesn't fill you up much. Well, it does fill you up pretty quick, actually. All right, let's go find something else. Maybe. Yeah. I didn't see anything else I wanted there, so we'll go over here and check one of these rocks over here. Yeah, like I said, a lot of times it's just running around looking. That was actually gems there. That's why it didn't start showing a rock when I got close. Yeah, rule of thumb is if it doesn't show up until you're about 5K away, it's probably gems, and you won't be able to do it in a prospector. So you just move on and go find something else. All right, that looks like a single rock too. See if we can break it. Nope. What do we got over there? So we'll check this one. If it's not something we can do, we'll go over there to the left. And laranite. It's probably mid-grade on the tier 2s. And since I know we got another patch over here, we'll go over here instead. If I didn't have this patch over here, I might have went ahead and grabbed it. But like I said, we really want the tier 1s. Gold, bexlite, terranite. And obviously I wouldn't say no to quantitanium if I can find something to crack. All right, let's see. There's a gold. That's a purple. So we might go ahead and grab that. Again, freebies. When you're a rented prospector, freebies are good. So we'll go ahead and grab that. And we'll look and see what these other rocks are. That's going to be too big. And it's laranite anyway. Let's see what else we got here. And laranite. Bexolite, but it's too big. And laranite. Guess we'll go ahead and try it. We should be able to crack this without too much trouble. I mean, laranite actually breaks okay, so I mean, it's not, you're not going to get as much for it. You get like maybe a grand or two per SCU or something like that, but it does fill you up pretty quick. It's one of the good tier twos to top off with. So. And again, we're trying to keep this 3 runs per hour. So if I wasn't doing that, if I was going to refine it, then I would just run around and only pick up tier 1s as much as possible. But because we're going to sell the ore outright, we can actually do this. The other thing that's nice about selling the ore outright is you even get paid for the inert material. Not much, but you do. All right. Now, like I said before, keep it in the green. Try to stay in about mid-range or the lower half of the green to charge it up. You want to keep enough power into it to keep it in the green, but not so much that it takes off. And again, if you hit the red, back off and let it cool off. So we've got a little bit of lag here. It happens occasionally. All right. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, we got some issues. Little server desync there. All right, so that's a pretty good one, 90-something%. We'll go ahead and grab that. And you could just grab it, or you could actually look at all the rocks and see what they are. %, we'll grab that. All right, looks like we got a bunch of 40s, so it doesn't matter which one. And we're full. All right, so final run for the hour. Let's go back and see what we got. Again, point straight up at 85 elevation. Max out your speed. Get up above that 4K mark, and then you can jump. Go into nav mode. Map your trip back to crew L1. You go there often enough, a lot of times it'll show up in the list. You won't even have to look for it. All right, away we go. Well, once we charge. All right, we'll go back here. We'll go ahead and get this ore sold, and then we'll go ahead and tally it up and see where we're at. So just to put it in perspective, so that first load we did was only like 19K. But if we had actually refined it, we'd probably be looking at $5 grand plus to refine it. We'd have to wait 24 to 36 hours, and we might have made 40 grand off of it. So you'd already be down $5 grand plus a day and a half. So you would have got like 35,000 out of it. So you would have made more, but you would have had to wait for it. This is all about let's make as much money as fast as we can so that we can actually go buy a ship that can make us money without having to rent. That's where the ore sales come in. The other thing is, if you like to enjoy mining, but we're getting close to a wipe, like we are here, waiting for 4.0 to come out, they could actually come out any day and say they're releasing it to live, and then whatever refinery orders you have in are going to be gone. They'll be wiped to the wipe. Even when they don't do a full wipe, we still lose our refinery orders and our cargo and so forth. So, again, come in until you get close enough, drop it in SCM, call for your hangar, and then land. At this point, we've done it in the last 2 videos plus this one, so you should have the hang of that. If you don't, you might want to practice that some more. Just like take off, let the hangar doors close, land again. So, um, basically, if you can get the landing and flying down, at least to the point where you can get from point A to point B, then you can make money. Again, landing gear will actually slow you down if you need to. We want to center on the landing pad again. All right, so we're down. This is going to be the last one for today, so don't really need to refuel and repair unless you want to. I'm going to go ahead and do it just in case I decide to keep going. But not necessarily, and it's less than 100 credits, so not really worried about it. There's that lag again. All right. So that's the problem with the servers. When they start lagging, everything goes slower. So sometimes you gotta hit the elevator button twice, stuff like that. But I mean, we're in an alpha. It's inevitable. You're gonna have issues. Biggest thing is being able to work through and play through them, or find workarounds for problems. This game is just in the last couple years I've been playing. It's a lot more stable than it was back then. Yeah, before they came out with some of the changes they did, we would actually get 30Ks where you just got disconnected wherever you were at. And then when you log back in, you'd be back at the station and have to claim your ship. So just the fact that we have the server errors now and it recovers is a huge step forward. We've actually got a lot of cost or quality of life improvements. So in the last couple years, the game has made huge strides. It looks like we're going to have even more coming up. And I honestly think we'll probably release to 1.0 probably about a year away. Maybe a year and a half at most. All right, again, pick your ship. And it looks like we're going to make 37 off this one, which is not bad, considering 15 minutes work. Wish I could make 37,000 in 15 minutes, 20 minutes in real world. So, sorry for the delay, but basically I'm putting this on a spreadsheet so we can look at it. All right. My 15-year-old herd of elements. Either that or the dogs, one of the two. They're always making noise. Oop. Apparently that took too long making changes to the spreadsheet. So be just about done here. Then we'll put it in. Excuse the time lag. I'm literally creating this spreadsheet as I go. All right. Apparently, I should have cut this little section out, I guess. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and sell it. All right. All right. So we've got. All right. So as you can see here, our 3 runs totaled about 100,000. We actually paid 73,237 for that. Left us with 27,000 profit. So we started out with about 170, so now we're up to almost 200,000. So, all right. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Stay tuned for episode 4. We'll probably keep going with the rental prospector until we actually make enough money to get a vulture. Other than that, have a nice day.